This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part 2. Today we're diving into Always Blinded by Jealousy. Let's go. Chapter 1. The thunderous crash of the heavy iron gates being forced open at our estate jolted me back to reality from my near-death experience. I grabbed my panic-stricken mother, who was about to rush out to see what was happening, and pulled her into my bedroom. After locking the door, I gasped for breath and urged Mom to help me push the heavy oak wardrobe against the door. "Mia, what are you doing? We have security guards, what are you afraid of?" My mother, Marianne, looked at me in confusion, though she couldn't hide the terror in her eyes. She didn't know yet that my brother, James, had taken all the bodyguards with him for his beloved girlfriend. "Mom, James took all the security with him. It's just the two of us in the house now." I gritted my teeth, using every ounce of strength to push the wardrobe. The heavy oak made a spine-chilling scraping sound as it left deep scratches across the hardwood floor. Marianne froze, unable to believe that my usually responsible brother would do something so reckless. Given our family's wealth, security has always been a top priority. How could all the guards possibly leave at once? But seeing my pale face, she had no choice but to believe me. Chapter 2. Quick, call your brother and tell him to come back immediately, Marianne urged, her voice shaking. I remained silent, eyes fixed on the door barely blocked by the wardrobe. With trembling fingers, I dialed 911, briefly explaining our situation and address. I couldn't trust James to be our first line of rescue, especially since in my previous life, he had returned too late, causing my mother to miss the critical treatment window and die. After hanging up, my heart sank. Recent heavy snowfall had blocked the roads, and our hillside estate was quite a distance from the nearest police station. I dreaded imagining what might happen before the police arrived. Bang! A violent crash shook the door. I instinctively pressed my body against the wardrobe as fear rushed through me. Just then, Marianne's call to James connected. "James, come home quickly, there are intruders in the house." Marianne's voice broke with tears. James's impatient voice came through the speaker. "Come on, Mom, stop making things up. I'm still waiting for the meteor shower with Michelle. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm not lying. There really are intruders. Come back quickly, or you'll be collecting our bodies." Marianne practically screamed. James's tone grew even colder. "I know you don't like Michelle, but there's no need to make up such stories to scare me." Chapter 3. And tell Mia Cooper that she should stop playing these little games. I won't fall for it again. Hearing these words, my heart completely sank. It seemed my brother had also been reborn. But why would he think this was a lie I made up? In my previous life, he had witnessed with his own eyes how those thugs tortured Mother and me. Why was he being so cold this time around? Just because of Michelle Peterson? Just because she casually said, "Mia did it on purpose," in her suicide note? Heavy footsteps approached outside the door. Then the door was hit even more violently, making the wardrobe start to scrape across the floor with a piercing noise. We watched helplessly as the wardrobe's defense gradually failed until, crack. A corner of the wardrobe splintered under a powerful blow, exposing a large gap right before our eyes. The intruder outside let out a hoarse laugh. "So this is where you're hiding." I stood in front of my mother, backing toward the bed step by step. Staring at the widening crack in the doorway, sweat covered my forehead as I felt completely helpless without any weapon. Then the door was violently forced open, with the bottom of the wardrobe making a terrible screeching sound like metal on train tracks. A pair of dirty boots stepped into the room. "Did you think blocking the door would save you? I don't have the patience for games." The man smiled crookedly, his disgusting gaze scanning the room. I froze in place, staring at the gleaming knife in his hand, its cold light reflecting off his filthy knuckles. His gaze fell on me, greedy and sickening, like a snake's tongue flicking. Well, I didn't expect to find such a pretty young lady here." Chapter 4. Marianne let out a heart-wrenching scream. "Don't touch her." I clenched my teeth, fighting down the despair churning in my chest, and turned to whisper to my mother, "Mom, whatever happens next, don't interfere. Move back. There's a trampoline outside the window that should cushion your fall. Move back. There's a trampoline outside the window that should cushion your fall. Then run to the Patel house next door and find Nathan Patel. Ask him to help me." The man with the knife was getting closer. We had no time left. I'd been tortured in my previous life anyway. This time, I had to save my mother at all costs. "Mia, I can't leave you behind." I gripped my mother's wrist tightly. "Listen to me. Just jump down and quickly go to the Patels. As long as you survive, there's still hope. Just then, the man pushed aside the wobbling wardrobe and advanced toward us. "Mom, jump now," I urged in a desperate whisper. But instead, Marianne suddenly lunged at the man. She grabbed his arms with all her might, trying to pull him back. "Mia, jump, run, Mom won't let them catch you." Her voice was choked with determination. "Mom," I screamed in terror. I watched helplessly as the knife in the man's raised hand plunged without hesitation into her back. That flash of red burst into my mind, shattering all rational thought in my shock. Mom gasped in pain but still held onto the man's waist, desperately shouting to me, "Jump. Mia, jump now, don't stop." My blood felt frozen, but the instinct to survive took over. There was no chance of winning in a direct confrontation. I rushed to the window and jumped without hesitation. As I landed and bounced violently on the trampoline, I felt a sharp pain shoot from my ankle up to my calf. Chapter 5. However, there was no time to linger. I gritted my teeth, struggled to my feet, and ran with all my might toward the Patel house next door. I couldn't worry about my frostbitten feet sinking into the snow, becoming raw and bloody. I just remembered to keep running forward without stopping. Though we called them neighbors, their house was actually a kilometer away. The freezing air stung my throat, but I didn't dare slow down. Because I knew that in my previous life, there had been more than just one intruder who broke in. When I finally collapsed in front of the Patel's iron gate, I pounded on it desperately, shouting hoarsely, "Nathan! Open up, help! Intruders broke into my house, please save my mom." The iron gate creaked open, and Nathan stood there frowning. He wore a warm cashmere coat, but his face didn't show a trace of warmth. He looked down at me kneeling in the snow and slowly said, "Mia, your acting skills have really improved lately." His tone was mocking with a hint of scorn. Blood rushed to my chest as my head spun. "Nathan, I'm not playing around or joking. My mother is fighting for her life. Please send someone with me to save her." He looked me up and down, taking in my disheveled appearance and injuries with exaggerated wonder. "If James hadn't told me you might stage some home invasion drama out of jealousy toward Michelle, I might have believed you." Chapter 6. I frantically explained, "Don't listen to him. This is real. I already called the police, but they haven't arrived yet. Please, my mother's been stabbed. She won't last long." In my previous life, those 3 intruders took out their anger on my mother afterward. My mother and I fought desperately, and we were both tortured and badly injured. I was assaulted, and my mother ended up dead. This time around, I couldn't let my mother die because of me. I took out my phone to show Nathan my call to emergency services, but he showed no sign of believing me. Instead, he continued with cold mockery, "You're playing quite the elaborate game this time, aren't you? Even called the police? Staging a home invasion? This act is so convincing, I almost believe it. I have to admire your determination. Nathan, have you lost your mind? This is real." I screamed in desperation, tears blurring my vision. However, my cry couldn't earn his trust. He turned to leave, but I grabbed him. "Please, my mother really needs help. If you don't go now, she might die, she really will die." He looked down at me, his expression completely cold. "Mia, James specifically told me to ignore, no matter how much of a scene you make." His coldness cut into my nerves. Before Michelle appeared, Nathan had been my childhood sweetheart, always gentle and caring toward me. Even after our engagement, he had been incredibly doting. But after that woman showed up, everything changed. Nathan grew increasingly cold toward me, and even my brother began to distance himself. To please Michelle, my brother did all kinds of foolish things. Just because another company's name was the same as Michelle's pet dog, he maliciously ruined their business, which is what brought this disaster to our family. I knelt desperately in the snow, pleading, "Nathan, I'm begging you. Just take someone to my house and check, please. You can even break off our engagement if you want, just please help." I was nearly at my breaking point. I prayed over and over in my heart that Nathan would show even a shred of conscience. Chapter 7. I hoped for the sake of our past relationship that he would save my mother. The butler, who had watched me grow up since I was little, finally felt some sympathy. "Sir, perhaps you should take some men to check. Miss Cooper wouldn't lie about something like this." Nathan hesitated for a moment. I seized the opportunity and began desperately bowing my head to him. My forehead hit the freezing ground with dull thuds. "Please, please, save my mother." Nathan finally spoke, his tone still cold. "I'll take some men to check. But, Mia, if this turns out to be something you staged, I'll make you pay for it." I looked up sharply, a glimmer of hope in my eyes. No matter what, as long as he agreed to go. After calling for several security guards, his phone rang at the worst possible moment. It was my brother. Nathan glanced at me and put it on speaker. James's lazy, cold voice came through. Mia didn't come looking for you, did she? Don't listen to her. Someone just used my mom's phone to call and threaten me with murder. It's ridiculous. I felt like I'd fallen into an ice cave, my blood freezing solid. I couldn't believe that my brother, who once promised to protect me for life, could be so heartless. For the sake of a woman, he ignored our mother's safety and turned a deaf ear to my pleas. Fury and fear mixing together, I screamed at the phone. James, have you lost your mind? Do we have to die before you'll believe me? You've seen what happened to Mom and me before. Chapter 8. He laughed coldly. That was just your scheme to gain power. I asked Mrs. Mendez at home, and everything is fine there. You're ruthless and vicious. I won't believe you this time. If anything happens to Mom, it's your own fault. My heart completely sank. Mrs. Mendez had gone home on leave a week ago. How could she possibly know what was happening at our house? I was about to argue when the line went dead with a beeping tone. Nathan's expression darkened completely. He looked at me with disgust. So you were lying. Someone grabs her and breaks her legs. Teach her a lesson. Several guards moved forward, preparing to seize me. Fighting through the intense pain in my legs, I shouted, you wouldn't dare. When my father returns, I won't let any of you off. The guards exchanged uncertain glances, hesitating. Nathan laughed coldly, casually picked up a baseball bat, and walked over to me. Looking down at me from above, his eyes filled with mockery and contempt. They don't dare, but I do. I looked up at him in despair. The gentle affection we once shared seemed like an illusory dream. I couldn't believe he would treat me this way. I fearfully tried to back away, but he kicked me to the ground. A sharp pain shot through my stomach, and before I could recover, he viciously struck my already injured left leg with the bat. Ah! I screamed in agony, my body shaking violently as the excruciating pain nearly made me faint. He just stood coldly to the side. This is the price for lying to me. Just then, my phone rang. He bent down to pick it up, a mocking smile curling at his lips. Let me hear who's calling now. Hello, is this Miss Cooper who called emergency services? We've arrived at your home. The intruders escaped during the struggle, but your mother is in critical condition and needs immediate medical attention. Chapter 9. The police officer's voice came through clearly on the phone, and Nathan's smile instantly froze. There really was an incident at her house? Is Mrs. Cooper seriously injured? From Nathan's questions, I knew it must be the police calling. Fighting through the intense pain, I struggled to get up from the ground, snatched the phone, and then collapsed heavily back down. Ignoring my injuries, I anxiously asked, Officer, how is my mother? Where is she hurt? Her injuries are quite severe, mainly to her head and abdomen. She's lost a lot of blood. We're rushing her to the hospital now. Please get there as soon as you can. Hearing about my mother's serious condition, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. Chapter 10. I bit down hard on my lip as tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. Nathan remained silent for a long while before finally speaking, his tone carrying a hint of remorse. Mia, I'm sorry. I was wrong to doubt you. What good is sorry now? My mother is fighting for her life in the hospital. He walked over to me, crouched down, and tried to help me up. I'll take you to the hospital. I pushed him away in disgust. Don't touch me. It makes me sick. Thank God the police arrived. Nathan, I'll make sure you regret what you did. When this is over, I'm breaking off our engagement. I refuse to marry a heartless bastard like you. His hand froze in midair, a flash of hurt crossing his eyes. I struggled to my feet and limped toward the exit. He quickly followed, grabbing my arm saying, Don't be stubborn. I was wrong earlier. There aren't any cars around here. How will you get to the hospital if I don't take you? I kept my face cold but didn't refuse Nathan's support any longer. My mother's situation was critical, and I didn't want to waste time on trivial matters. Waves of excruciating pain kept hitting me, and I had to bite my lip hard just to stay conscious. If Mom didn't make it, I couldn't bear to think further as a strong sense of guilt washed over me. During the drive, Nathan tried to speak several times, but I cut him off. Drive faster. I urged the driver, my eyes fixed on the scenery rushing past outside the window. When he tried to comfort me, I rejected him. Stop pretending. I don't want to hear it. He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word, just staring at me blankly. His eyes showed rare regret, but I had no interest in forgiving him. Nathan's gaze shifted from my hardened profile to my leg. He suddenly frowned. Your leg, it's bleeding badly. The left leg of my pants was stained with an alarming patch of red. Blood was dripping down my calf onto the car mat, a horrifying sight. Thanks to you, this leg might be ruined forever. His expression immediately darkened as he pressed his lips together and then shouted at the driver, hurry up. At the hospital, I desperately clung to the car door as I climbed out. When nurses came to bandage me, I pushed them away and asked urgently, where is my mother's operating room? Marianne, her name is Marianne Tanner. The nurse paused for a moment, then pointed down a hallway. East Wing, 3rd operating room. They're working on her now. Before she could finish, I was already dragging my injured body in that direction, stumbling as if I might fall at any moment. Mia, slow down. Nathan caught up and tried to support me, but I shook off his hand, glaring at him. Get lost. If you had agreed to help earlier, would my mother be like this? Stop pretending to care like a crocodile with fake tears. The guilt on his face had transformed into undisguised pain, which only seemed fake to me. Fighting through the tearing pain in my body, I dragged my injured leg toward the operating room doors. Chapter 11. The operating room light was on, but I couldn't see what was happening inside. I clenched my fists, standing stiffly outside the door, my entire body as tense as a wire about to snap. Quiet footsteps approached from behind as Nathan followed me. He glanced at my leg and suggested softly, Mia, your leg is badly injured. At least let a doctor look at it. If you need treatment, I can help by keeping watch on the surgery situation. Stop trying to act like you care. I glared at him with bloodshot eyes. With you around, I can't rest easy. His face paled, and he finally fell silent. Nathan stood beside me and called my brother James, urging him to come back. The hallway was so quiet that I could hear James's impatient voice through the phone. You're believing Mia's lies too? She's been a liar since she was little. Now to trick me into coming back, she's made up such a ridiculous story. Nathan spoke urgently, come back quickly. There really were intruders. Your mother and sister are both hurt. Chapter 12. James laughed dismissively, fine, fine. I'll finish watching the meteor shower with Michelle and then come rescue them. Besides, Mia's little injuries won't kill her. With that, he hung up. Nathan tried calling again, but was met with a cold automated message. The number you have dialed is currently switched off. I didn't care. I had long since given up expecting anything from such a heartless brother. Nathan found a doctor who bandaged me right outside the operating room. After examining me, the doctor said I had a fractured left leg with multiple soft tissue injuries. Nathan looked at me guiltily. I couldn't even be bothered to give him a glance, my eyes fixed firmly on the operating room door. Late that night, the operating room light finally went off. The doctor walked out wearily and told me that my mother had been brought in just in time to save her life, though she would need careful recovery. I could no longer hold back, covering my face as I broke down sobbing. Thank goodness my mother's life was saved. As the tension finally drained from my body, everything went black, and I passed out. The next morning, I was awakened by a commotion. Opening my eyes, I saw James standing at my bedside, pointing at me accusingly. You went so far as to have someone trash our house just to make your story believable? You've really gone too far. Did you know this made the news? You've brought shame to our family. Michelle stood beside him, pretending to sob weakly. James, don't blame Mia. She only did this because she dislikes me. Before I could respond, James rushed over and slapped me hard across the face. While Dad's away, I'll discipline you in his place. My cheek stung as I stared at him in disbelief. I shouted angrily, I'm your own sister, yet you condemn me without asking a single question. Do you really hate me that much? Do you honestly think something serious enough to involve the police was fake? He frowned, but before he could speak, Michelle cut in with her fragile voice, Mia, if you just admit your mistake, James won't blame you. Why are you blaming James instead? She sniffled, her eyes reddened. If there were really intruders, how could you be resting so comfortably here? I know you made all this up because you dislike me. It's okay, I can leave starting today. Her strategic retreat made my brother even more protective of her. He grabbed Michelle's hand, quickly reassuring her, you're not going anywhere. If anyone's leaving, it's her. In a couple of days, I'll send her abroad and never let her come back to the country. Chapter 13. Michelle leaned into his embrace, quietly sobbing. No, don't let me cause a rift between you siblings. It breaks my heart. James turned to glare at me. His face showed undisguised disgust. Why can't you just accept Michelle? She's so kind and so lovely. As my sister, shouldn't you be grateful that she's here to protect my heart? Get up right now and apologize to Michelle. James grabbed my wrist and roughly yanked me off the hospital bed. 1. Pain shot through my unhealed left leg, the weakened bone feeling as if it would snap in two. I fell to my knees unexpectedly, my hands bracing against the cold, hard tiles as a sharp ringing filled my head. James loomed over me, his voice cold. "Stand up. Apologize to Michelle." I looked up at him with a bitter smile, the anger boiling in my chest nearly burning through my reason. "James, I really want to know why someone you've only known for a few months means so much to you. What makes her worth throwing away our family bond? Aren't I your real sister?" James looked down at me, a mocking smile on his lips. "Real sister?" My heart froze. "Mia, you've always been one step ahead of me since we were kids. Even though I'm the oldest, I've always been beneath you. You stole Dad's attention and all the opportunities that he gave." His voice grew colder with each word, becoming increasingly aggressive. "How can I see you as a sister? Michelle is truly gentle and considerate. She cares about my feelings and accepts me for who I am. On the other hand, you just look down on me with that superior attitude, always laughing at me. You're a woman. What right do you have to be company president? What right do you have to block my projects? My buddy really liked you. I asked you to marry him instead, so why did you refuse? Nathan doesn't even love you." Listening to James's words was like a winter night wind cutting through my bones. So all my efforts and what I thought was sibling love had only earned me mockery and hatred. When we were young, Dad was busy with company affairs, and Mom's attention was focused more on my physically weak brother. Chapter 14. All my life, I'd worked hard, desperately trying to make myself more accomplished. Not just to get Dad's attention, but hoping to protect my brother when we grew up. I had carefully analyzed his real estate project and discovered pollution risks in the land. Recklessly developing it would have resulted in both economic and reputational disaster, yet his response was to tell me to get out of his company. And that buddy of his was an abusive man who had already been divorced twice. How could I marry someone like that? As for the engagement with Nathan's family, I had planned to step back from company management after marriage. I would let my brother take full charge, with all the resources from Nathan's family going to him. I had even thought that, for my brother's sake, I could endure a loveless marriage with Nathan. Little did I know that the brother I wanted to protect had long wished me dead. "Since you hate me so much, I don't want a brother like you either. From now on, we will go our separate ways. This blood tie is broken," I said coldly, the last trace of warmth in my heart completely vanishing. Just then, Dad's secretary walked in. "Mr. Cooper has returned from overseas. He's in Mrs. Cooper's room and requests both of you to come." I was wheeled into the hospital room where Mom lay in bed, looking ill but forcing herself to appear strong as she watched us. Dad sat nearby, his expression dark, his gaze falling on my legs in the wheelchair as he spoke icily. "Is this how you took care of your mother and sister?" Chapter 15. James immediately pointed at me, complaining bitterly, "This is all Mia's fault. She's just jealous of Michelle, so she made up this huge lie about intruders breaking in." "Enough," Mom interrupted him coldly. "You're the one who made the terrible mistake. Putting a woman before your family's safety. James, I'm so disappointed in you." After being injured, Mom had called James multiple times, but he never answered. Even worse, in her semi-conscious state, Mom had heard that call from the intruder to James, where he nonchalantly said, "Kill them if you want, just stop interrupting Michelle and me watching the meteor shower." What a nuisance. Being treated so coldly by her own son had completely frozen Mom's heart. James's face darkened, but he still maintained his "I did nothing wrong" attitude, stubbornly insisting, "How could the timing be so convenient? I leave with the security guards, and suddenly intruders break in to rob and kill?" "Mom, don't be fooled by Mia. She staged the whole thing just to trick me." I was amazed by his twisted logic and misplaced confidence. Even now, he still thought I had nothing better to do than joke around with Mom's life and my own. I held Mom's hand, gently patting the back of it to help her calm down. Chapter 16. Her face was pale, her breathing rapid. Clearly James's words had upset her tremendously. "I wish I'd never given birth to a son like you." Mary Ann's voice trembled as she looked at James with disappointment. "For the sake of a woman, you've stopped believing in your own sister and mother. You've truly let me down." Mary Ann's words completely enraged James. Humiliated and angry, he shouted, "Mom, how can you say that? When would I ever not care about you? I think Mia has brainwashed you too. Let me make this clear, it's either her or me in this family. If you don't send her abroad, I'm cutting ties with all of you." His threatening posture showed how confident he was. He probably thought that as the only son of the Cooper family, no matter how accomplished I was, our parents would ultimately choose him. Especially now that he had started handling company projects and achieved some results. This made him even more confident that our parents wouldn't give him up. Mom shook her head in disappointment, closing her eyes as she said weakly, "You've truly disappointed me." Dad, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "If that's how you feel, then we'll cut ties. You and your Michelle can live your lives." James's face instantly turned pale. He never imagined that Dad would actually agree to sever their relationship. He always believed that as the Cooper family heir, no matter what he did, our parents would never abandon him. But in my heart, a wave of indescribable sadness washed over me. I had thought we were a family who would support each other through anything, standing together no matter what. But now I realized how terribly wrong I was. Just as Dad finished speaking, Michelle, who had been hiding behind James, suddenly burst into tears. "Mr. and Mrs. Cooper, I know you're treating James this way because you dislike me. I'll leave James right now, I'll go immediately. Please don't be hard on James. He's your only son." Mary Ann gave her a cold glance. "Be quiet. You have no right to speak here. Please don't be angry. I'm begging you not to give up on James." As she spoke, she actually fell to her knees with a thud. Seeing this, James was overcome with concern. He quickly helped Michelle to her feet and defiantly told our parents. Chapter 17. Enough, stop begging them. Who needs a family like this? "Michelle, let's go." I turned my head away, feeling sick to my stomach, not wanting to watch this dramatic performance anymore. In my previous life, when James tortured and killed me, he kept saying, "Michelle's suicide note explained everything, how you staged the whole thing just to trick me away so you could hurt her. You vicious person, you caused Michelle's death and ruined Mom's life." In my previous life, I thought he was just blinded by Michelle. Now I see he simply refused to believe all the mistakes were his fault. He had long wished me dead. Chapter 18. Killing me had set his mind at ease. "Stop right there." My father suddenly spoke, his tone ice cold. "If you're leaving, you leave with nothing. Not a single penny." James froze, probably never expecting father to be so decisive. "Dad, how could you? Get out," my father roared, cutting him off. James held Michelle close as they walked out without looking back. "The Cooper family? Without me, the Cooper family is nothing. I am the true heir. You'll be begging me to come back sooner or later." After the room quieted down, Mary Ann remained deeply upset, and my father hardly spoke. I knew they were both heartbroken over James's actions. "Mom, don't worry, I'll handle everything," I said softly, holding her hand. Mary Ann looked at me, her eyes full of pride. "Mia, you've really grown up." My father was a man of his word. He swiftly removed James from all his positions. He not only officially announced me as the heir on the company website but personally presented the relevant statement to the board. As for James, he was quickly and completely cut off from the company. His unlimited credit cards were cancelled, his private driver fired. Even his living space was just a temporarily rented mansion. James could barely contain his fury. He announced through various channels that he would establish a brand new company to rival the Cooper Corporation. He even went live on social media, smugly declaring to the camera, "Without me, Cooper Corp is just an empty shell, not worth mentioning. Just wait and see what my dear sister, Mia, does with this company." Comments flooded the livestream, some supportive, others just stirring trouble. I completely ignored it all. This was my brother's own ridiculous show, and I had no interest in playing along. I focused on the stack of documents on my desk, working diligently. The newly taken over project was already taking shape, and I had reviewed the suggestions from several executives on the team. Indeed, acceptance of my succession was extremely high within Cooper Corp. Compared to James's long-standing autocratic approach and blind investments, my sharp business insights and consistently decisive leadership had already won over many people. Since I took office, overall work had progressed more smoothly, with almost no one questioning my abilities. My secretary, Ted, watched in amazement. "Ms. Cooper, how can you be so calm? The internet is buzzing about this whole situation. Some are even saying he'll steal Cooper's resources." I picked up a red pen to sign the document, replying without any hint of concern. What could he possibly steal with? A live stream and an empty shell company? My calmness came not just from confidence, but from knowing James's fundamental character flaws. He believed he inherited the family's business acumen, but he had rarely shown any practical ability. He greatly overestimated his own charm and underestimated how cold and cruel reality could be. Chapter 19. Indeed, events unfolded exactly as I predicted. Although James's new company launched with great fanfare, Even hosting a G-opening ceremony, very few businesses were interested in working with him. At first, some smaller projects approached him out of respect for the Cooper name, hoping to discuss partnerships. But James looked down on them completely, even publicly humiliating these companies. You can't even present a decent investment amount, yet you think you're worthy of discussing cooperation with me? Word spread quickly, and soon James's company found itself completely ignored. The atmosphere in his office had practically frozen over. Michelle had initially enjoyed flaunting her status through him, but seeing no income day after day, she too began to panic. James, what if we start with some smaller projects? Even if they're tiny, as long as there's some revenue. Michelle carefully chose her words, but before she could finish, James cut her off with a dark expression. Michelle, do you think I'm going to fail? Have you even lost faith in me? Michelle felt a chill run through her body as he stared at her with bloodshot eyes, and she stammered, not daring to say more. Chapter 20. James's savings were nearly gone. The mere $200 remaining in his account kept him awake at night. Finally, late one night, he swallowed his pride and contacted those project managers he had previously dismissed. The cold rejections and mockery from the other end of the line made his anger spiral out of control. He smashed his phone violently against the floor. Bastards, all of them bastards. He cursed through gritted teeth, rage boiling in his chest, but he was powerless to change the situation. Michelle picked up the shattered phone while listening to James's roars. Yet in her eyes, unfathomable emotions flickered. Michelle keenly sensed that Cooper Corp had truly abandoned James. She then turned her attention to Nathan. She sent countless flirtatious messages to Nathan every day, but they all sank like stones. This was strange in the past. Nathan would have been interested in seeing her so forward. Michelle bit her lip, silently cursing Nathan for not appreciating her advances. News of my broken engagement had already spread throughout our social circle. Contrary to his usual behavior, Nathan was now showering me with affection, practically wearing his heart on his sleeve. Yet he completely ignored Michelle's flirtations. Unwilling to give up, she took out her phone and composed another suggestive message. Nathan, do you remember that night we watched the fireworks together? How are you? I've been missing you so much lately. Before she could hit send, James snatched the phone from her hand. What are you doing? Flirting with another man behind my back? James's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Michelle like a cornered beast. Michelle pretended to be fragile, her eyes instantly reddening. James, don't misunderstand, I was just what? Just thinking I've fallen on hard times, so you're looking for another sugar daddy? James suddenly grabbed her throat with shocking force. You want to betray me too? You want to abandon me too? Michelle struggled desperately, finding it harder and harder to breathe as everything began to blur. Survival instinct kicked in as she grabbed a sculpture from the table and smashed it against James's head. James grunted and collapsed to the floor. Michelle clutched her throat, coughing violently. Looking at James lying on the ground, there wasn't a trace of concern in her eyes, only disgust and contempt. Look at yourself. Without your parents' protection, you're nothing but trash. I refuse to live this poor life with you. I was hoping you'd make a comeback, but you're completely useless. James looked at her in disbelief. Michelle, didn't you say you loved me? You never used to care about money like this. Chapter 21. He thought back to when they first met. She was just a small-time assistant then, wearing plain clothes with a face free of makeup, as pure as a lily. She didn't care for luxury brands or vanity. He had been deeply attracted by that pure quality about her. He thought she was the true love of his life. Michelle spat in disgust. Who doesn't love money? Would I have seduced you if you were broke? Stop dreaming. Stay here and rot for all I care. She straightened her disheveled clothes and turned to leave. She figured she could use her injuries to gain sympathy from Nathan, possibly salvaging that relationship. Just as she reached the door, 2 police officers blocked her way. Excuse me, according to the confession from the intruders in the March 1st Cooper home invasion case, you're a suspect and need to come with us. Michelle instantly panicked. No, it wasn't me, it had nothing to do with me. Behind her, James snarled through gritted teeth, so it was you. You're the one who ruined my life. Chapter 22. You even tried to have my mother and sister killed. The intruders had confessed that their hatred for the Cooper family stemmed from how their company had been maliciously forced into bankruptcy by the Coopers. Their parents had died of a stroke from the stress, and they couldn't even afford the medical bills. Michelle had found them and paid them money. She deliberately made up lies, claiming that Mia disliked their company and had persuaded James to crush them. Their attack on our home, both the timing and location, was all arranged by Michelle. In the interrogation room, Michelle desperately denied all charges. But faced with solid evidence, all her excuses seemed pathetically weak. The intruder's confession, records of her communications with them, even the suspicious deposits in her bank account all nailed her to the wall. Michelle's psychological defenses finally collapsed, and she admitted to all her crimes. She wept bitterly with regret, but it was all too late. 3 days later, a disheveled figure appeared at the front gate of the Cooper mansion. Was James. He had lost weight, was unshaven, and wore dirty clothes like a homeless person. He carried some cheap fruit, saying he'd come to apologize to our parents. The butler stopped him with an expressionless face. Mr. Cooper said he has no son. James's face changed, and he wanted to say more, but the butler's cold stare forced him back. He stood dejectedly at the gate, like an abandoned dog. Just then, Nathan arrived in a sharp suit, carrying a bouquet of flowers. Seeing James, a flash of mockery crossed his eyes. Well, if it isn't the great Mr. Cooper. How did you end up like this? James glared at him fiercely but said nothing. Nathan approached the butler politely and said, "Hello, I'm here to visit Mia." The butler remained expressionless. "Our young lady said if you come again, we'll call the police." Nathan's smile froze on his face. He looked up at my bedroom window in disbelief, as if asking why. I stood behind the curtain, watching the scene coldly. Once, I had loved him with all my heart, yet he had tossed me aside like trash. Now, I felt nothing but disgust and hatred for him. James and Nathan, one my former brother, the other my former fiancé, had once been the most important people in my life. Now they were like two drowned rats, ruthlessly turned away at my door. Indeed, the choices we make in life always lead to their inevitable consequences. I turned away from the window, a cold smile playing on my lips. I had exacted my revenge. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.